Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into something both terrifying and fascinating, the underground war expose, Ukraine's deadly mine tactics against Russia. This isn't easy to talk about, but it's important. Let's explore what's going on beneath the surface, literally, what tactics are being used, how they're changing warfare, and what the human cost is. When conflict escalated in Ukraine, much attention focused on aerial bombings, missile strikes, and frontline fighting. Less visible but just as deadly are the mines, improvised, traditional, or advanced. Buried in fields, hidden in forests, laid in tunnels or around villages, these mines are part of a silent, underground battlefield. They don't roar like jets, but their effects linger long after the media moves on. From the earliest stages of the war, reports emerged of Ukraine deploying mines to slow Russian advances. Defensive minefields in the north, east, and south became tools to channel invading forces into kill zones, delay armor, and protect supply lines. Mines serve as force multipliers. A single explosive device can deny passage, trigger fear, or force an adversary to waste time and resources on mine clearing operations. One tactic involves smart minefields, where mines are placed in layers, pressure mines up front and handling mines deeper. Some are equipped with anti-disturbance mechanisms so that attempts to tamper, remove, or bypass them trigger explosions. Sometimes mines are landmines with tripwires hidden beneath vegetation, making detection nearly impossible without specialized equipment or risk. The layering increases complexity and danger. Ukraine has adapted to make these tactics more effective. In many cases, minefields are not static. They shift over time. Fields are laid overnight, moved, or augmented based on intelligence about enemy movements. Mines are also integrated into ambushes. For example, roads expected to be used by Russian convoys become death traps. Mines blow the first vehicle, creating choke points. Then follow-up fire or artillery is used to hit troops trying to recover the wreckage or bypass it. Another method is the use of anti-personnel mines in civilian infrastructure precincts, areas where Russian soldiers might seek shelter or use buildings. Mines are rigged in basements, stairwells, along corridors. Some are placed in decoys, objects meant to lure, trash bins, doors, or even toys. The psychological impact here is large. Soldiers become wary of everything, slowing movement, making small decisions with caution, increasing operational time. Underground engineering plays a role too. Tunnels beneath battle lines or beneath towns can hide mines or booby traps. Some are used for movement, others as fallback positions. Mines within these tunnels mean that even retreat or resupply is fraught with danger. Snipers, demolition squads, and engineers must clear paths inch by inch. Mines are not always purely defensive. There are reports of more aggressive uses. Mines used offensively to stop pursuit during retreats or to cut off reinforcements. For example, as Russian forces attempt to outflank Ukrainian positions, mines may be planted behind Ukrainian lines to prevent counterattack or to secure flanks during offensives. Ukrainian forces have reportedly used mines to channel Russian forces into zones where they can be hit by drones or guided missiles. The types of mines vary. Some are manufactured military mines, others improvised explosive devices wides, repurposed munitions rigged to act like mines. There are also directional mines, like claymores, that are placed to cover specific sectors. There are anti-tank mines meant to disable armored vehicles, and anti-personnel mines aimed at infantry. In forested or rural terrain, anti-personnel mines are especially lethal because there are more hiding spots and less visibility. One particularly chilling tactic involves shaped charge mines or mines with explosively formed penetrators (EFs). These can penetrate armor, destroy vehicles, and cause secondary fires. If placed under roads or under bridges, they can take out entire convoys. In some battle zones, Ukrainians have reportedly installed mines with sensors, pressure, tilt, magnetic, to detect vehicles and trigger only when tanks or heavy vehicles pass, minimizing risk to civilians or friendly forces. This selective use raises complex ethical and legal questions. The terrain in Ukraine has heavily influenced how mine tactics are used. Regions like the Donbas, with its rolling hills, industrial complexes, and open fields, allow for minefields to be placed to control large expanses. Urban areas raise different challenges. Mines in cities, amongst rubble, debris, underground networks, are harder to detect, harder to clear, riskier for civilians. Winter adds snow cover, making mines invisible. Rain and mud move earth, bury or expose mines. Seasonal changes force minefields to be maintained, cleared, or relayed. Detection by the Russians has become better over time. Mine clearing units using probes, drones, mine detecting robots try to find and neutralize mines. But Ukraine's shifting tactics, moving mines, mixing mine types, using false trails, make detection risky. Mines with anti-handling devices kill clearance crews. Mines hidden under foliage or rubber mats, or disguised as everyday objects, foil detection. Some are placed underwater or in flooded fields along river crossings, where water conceals them and makes detection harder. Then there's the technological aspect. UAV and drones are used both to gather intelligence identifying routes, detecting recent movement, and to guide mine placement or trigger mines remotely. Sensors and remote triggers are part of some deployments. In certain cases, mines are rigged to remote detonators, wired or wireless, allowing operators to detonate at the most opportune moment. There are reports of combining mines with drone strikes. Mines slow pursuit or force movement into predictable paths. Then drones or guided munitions hit those paths. The ethics and legality of mines is controversial. Many conventions outlaw certain types of anti-personnel mines, especially those that cannot distinguish between combatants and civilians, or those that remain active for years. Mines left behind after conflict injure civilians long after fighting stops. Ukraine has to consider international law as well as local humanitarian impact. Use of mines in densely populated areas increases risk to non-combatants. Clearing after conflict is expensive, dangerous, and slow. Mines can turn farmland into wasteland, prevent return of displaced people. Human stories underscore the tragedy. Families returning home stumble across hidden mines. Children die or lose limbs. Demining teams risk their lives clearing former front lines. Villagers live in fear that each step outside could trigger hidden danger. Hospitals overloaded with amputees, civilians struggling with trauma. Russian soldiers too face unexpected mines. Some wounded, some killed, some stranded for hours in firefights triggered by a mine blast. In some cases, mines have turned the tide of particular battles. A Russian advance, slowed by minefields, allowed Ukrainian forces to regroup, reinforce, counterattack. Minefields denied supply routes to Russian convoys, forcing them to reroute through more dangerous zones, increasing exposure to air strikes or ambushes. Mines have also forced Russian forces to allocate more manpower to frontal area security, logistics protection, and mine clearance, diverting troops from offensive operations. But mine tactics come with their own risks and downsides. Misplacement can backfire. Mines sometimes kill or injure Ukrainian forces or friendly civilians. Weather, shifting soil, or human error can move mines from intended zones into unintended areas. In areas under contested control, marking or managing minefields is difficult. In some cases, misinformation or miscommunication leads to side forces entering mine zones. Maintenance and map keeping. Tracking where mines are placed is a logistical burden, especially when fronts are fluid. Another challenge is international image and diplomacy. Use of mines, especially anti-personnel kinds, can draw condemnation. Aid agencies, international organizations warn of long-term hazards. Mines impair post-conflict recovery, agriculture, infrastructure rebuilding, resettlement. Clearing mines costs billions and takes decades in many war zones. Ukraine faces not only fighting a war, but planning for peace in mine-polluted land. Technological innovations on both sides change the dynamics. On Ukraine's side, they experiment with self-neutralizing mines, mines designed to deactivate after a certain time, or mines with built-in trackers so clearance is safer. On Russia's side, there is advancement in mine detection. Advanced sensors, drones that search from above, mine-penetrating radar, trained mine dogs, robotics. Countermeasures evolve. Each new tactic spawns new responses. Ukraine also leverages intelligence and reconnaissance to decide where mines will have maximum impact. Drone surveillance reveals likely Russian approaches, logistics lines, terrain choke points. Mines are placed accordingly. Sometimes mined roads are baited, signs, fake movement, shadows of convoys, suggesting one route traffic will take, all to force the adversary into mined paths. Some minefields are made in terrain Russians assume safe. Ukrainian deception, camouflage, decoys, false tracks, guides enemy forces toward hidden danger. Information warfare also plays a role. Broadcasts, intercepted communication, social media reports heighten the psychological pressure from mine threat. Civilians warned to stay clear of certain fields, roads blocked, signs posted. But sometimes these signs are removed or ignored. For Russian troops, the rumor of mines can slow advance, induce caution, stress, fatigue. Every inch forward becomes dangerous not only from bullets or bombs, but from unseen explosives underfoot. Training and soldiers' education matter. Ukrainian soldiers need to know mine-laying protocols, how to mark areas safely, avoid booby-trap self-harm, track mine locations, avoid civilian infrastructure. They must also strategize mine placement so that they don't block their own troop movements, evacuation routes, or frequent supply lines. Proper documentation, mapping, coordination with commanders is crucial. Some reports indicate that Ukraine has been improving training with international support, demining partnerships, sharing best practices. Russia has responded with mine clearing operations, engineering units, heavy armor to push ahead, using mine rollers, demining robots. Sometimes intentionally triggering mines from leading vehicles to clear paths for others. Other times bypassing known mine zones, using aerial or artillery strikes to disrupt minefields or to hit mine-laying operations themselves. There are reports of strikes on suspected workshops making improvised mines, supply lines for mine components. Weather, geography, and seasons also shape what is possible. In colder months, frozen ground makes digging placements harder, but also harder to detect mines with ground sensors. Snow covers mine markers, obscures paths. Spring melt shifts soil, floods mines, sometimes moving them or making them more unstable. Terrain like marshes or flooded fields complicate detection and clearance. Mountainous or forested terrain increases concealment. Urban terrain increases complexity. Rubble, destroyed infrastructure, underground networks, all hiding mines and traps, the costs are vast. On the Ukrainian side, they risk civilian casualties, own force accidents, slowed advances, burden of cleanup. On the Russian side, mines slow operations, inflict casualties, damage vehicles, require diversion of force to clearance operations, erode morale. For civilians, the poorest pay most. Farmers lose land, children risk lives, communities kept from services, economic activity suffers. Post-war recovery will demand huge investments in demining, healthcare, infrastructure repair, land restoration. International response has been mixed. Humanitarian groups urge adherence to treaties like the Ottawa Convention banning anti-personnel mines. Ukraine is not a party to all mine treaties in the same way, though parts of its practice align with concerns about civilian harm. There are calls for international support, funding demining equipment, training, medical rehabilitation, mapping mine zones. Aid agencies warn of long-term hazards, contamination of soil, water, risking agriculture, livestock, lives for decades. Looking forward, mine tactics will likely continue to evolve. Autonomous mines, sensor-based trigger mechanisms, drones involved in deployment or detonation, better concealment, integration with cyber or electronic warfare, disrupting detection, equipment, or communication. Also better mine clearing technology, robots, AI, new detection sensors, possibly biological sensors. The underground war won't stay behind the lines. Mines will increasingly affect territory control, population movement, infrastructure repair, humanitarian corridors. It's critical to weigh the strategic advantage against the moral, legal, and long-term costs. Mines might help slow an advance today, but they leave a legacy of suffering, risk, and restraint for years. As Ukraine continues its defense, strategies that integrate mine tactics must also plan for the aftermath: mapping, clearance, support for survivors, restitution, restoration of land and livelihoods. This underground war, these mines, are not just about explosives. They're about control, fear, defense, and survival. They shape how the front moves, how people live, how war changes for everyone. As observers, as global citizens, we must see beyond headlines. We must understand the unseen, to stand for humanity, law, reconstruction. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in further deep dives on demining efforts, on stories of civilians caught in this crossfire, on the law of land warfare, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share this video if you found it insightful. Stay informed and stay safe.